All right, the countdown has finally come to an end and we are finally live. Welcome everyone to yet another episode of Weekends with Champions. We know it's not the weekend yet, but we could not wait for we have the ultimate CP legend with us, an icon for women and men in competitive programming. She's India's IOI glory and an MIT student, Malvika Joshi. She was just 18 when she got into MIT without a formal school education degree, putting the Indian CP scene right on the world map on her way. Thank you so much for joining us, Malvika. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, thank you.
Excellent. It's always great to have you back on CodeChef. Um, Before we get on with our questions, I just want to thank all of us who have joined us for this amazing conversation with Malvika Joshi. I'm sure you have a lot of questions for her. You want to pick her brains as much as possible, and that's what I'm going to do as well. Malvika, the first thing that I want to know from you is what was it about programming that it became your choice of subject? Because once you started your uh, homeschooling after seventh grade, there were several subjects that you were pursuing, but you chose to go with programming. What was it about it?
So I just enjoyed learning it. There were so many resources online to learn it. There's always like something new to do. And I really enjoyed problem solving. I liked having like a problem to think about while I go about my day.
Right.
So that's I was like attracted to programming, and yeah, I still enjoy it.
What was it? That was back in 2016 or 17? Would you say?
Um, no, it was actually 2013 or 14 maybe.
2013 or 14, it was still, I mean, India was still at a nascent stage when it came to programming or competitive programming at that time. Was it difficult for you to get the resources at that time, or were you easily, able to get your material?
Like there are many tutorials for like C++. That was the first language I learned. So
Right,
I found them on YouTube, and then there were online courses on algorithms
right,
on Coursera, EDX,
right.
and yeah, those are some of the resources I used.
Great. I hope you guys are taking notes of the resources she has been mentioning. If you want to, be big, follow the footsteps of someone who has already achieved something big in their lives. Talking of, speaking of achieving something, it's quite impossible to do it without a proper mentor, as everyone would agree. You had a mentor yourself before you joined MIT. Mr. Karkare was your teacher, your math teacher. And I was following his interview, and he would say that Malvika would always solve the toughest questions first. Has that been your strategy at the IOI as well?
So actually, that's not a very good strategy for IOI, and I tried not to do that, but I did end up missing like some easy subtasks at IOI and IOITC.
Right.
But yeah, but I tried not to go for the harder ones and like try to understand which questions are easier to do and do those. But yeah, my strategy failed sometimes.
Well, if you say so, but from the viewer's point of view, it has worked quite well for you. Mr. Karkari would say that Malvika would solve the toughest questions, and the rest of the paper would be a cakewalk for her. And yeah, and that's how he figured that this girl is different. As I said, it's always good to have you back with us on CodeChef. You yourself had a long association with us on CodeChef. Tell us about your experience with this platform.
So I started actively participating in the lunchtime contests on CodeChef. They were good practice for the IOI format, and they also had some fun problems.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I did participate in the cook-offs a little bit, but not as much as the lunchtime contests. And
Right.
then, yeah, after I became inactive, I didn't really use CodeChef that much. But recently, I've been using CodeChef Discuss a lot because
Oh,
I'm,
nice.
I'm working on like an online community for women who are interested in IOI. And for
Absolutely.
that, we've been using CodeChef Discuss. And I've also gotten help from some people at CodeChef for that, so it's been great.
That's excellent. And we are very well aware of your association and your operations with CodeChef and Women in INOI. We're going to be talking about that shortly. Uh, it would be actually a crime if we did not talk about women in CP when you are here with us, an absolute icon. But let's just talk about your life right now at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. How is it right now as compared to when you joined, when you were just all but 18?
So right now everything's virtual. It's a little sad because we're not able to attend
Right,
classes in person, meet with friends,
right,
and collaborate.
right,
When I started out, it was kind of overwhelming. There were so many things to learn and like so many decisions to make, and it felt like every small decision is going to
right,
stay with me for the next 4 years. But
right.
eventually, I settled in, and it was a great experience. They're very flexible with like whatever you want to learn. Like you don't have to
Right,
pick a major at the start.
right.
So I actually decided on my major my last year, and then the community there is very diverse, which is what I
Right.
enjoyed a lot.
So it's like an amalgamation from all parts of the world. They come together. So the university
Yeah.
life is amazing. Must be there. But was it a little intimidating when you went to study at such a prestigious institution?
It was intimidating in my first year, yeah. But
Right,
then I got
right.
used to it and I got comfortable there.
I'm sure you're perfectly acing it right now. Okay, but let's just come to the question that I really wanted to ask you. You being an absolute champion as a competitive programmer, uh, especially a torchbearer for women who are trying to make it big in the scene in the programming world, in the professional programming world. But we don't get to see as many women on the CP leaderboards today as much as we would like to. Uh, what would you think? What would you say, Malvika, are the biggest challenges faced by women in programming, especially in India?
So I think alienation is a big problem that's faced by women in programming. So computer science is thought of like a men's field, and
Right,
so there are fewer women who are interested in it,
right,
and because of that stereotype. And
right,
then even for the women who are part of the community, it always feels like you're an outsider
right,
because so in like or in online forums, for example, when a woman will post a question, if people don't know who that is, they'll just assume it's a guy and
right,
refer to her as a he. And then
right,
it's also like not a very fun time being the only woman in
right,
like online communities or being the
right.
only woman at programming camps. And
Or
this
anywhere
problem
for that matter.
also, yeah, this problem also
Right,
exists in tech in general, like being
right,
the only woman in team meetings. And then it feels like if you say something, you might not be taken as seriously as your colleagues.
right,
So that creates like an unwelcoming feeling.
right.
And I think that's one of the big reasons that women, even if they get into programming, they might not stay.
Mhm.
Then there are also like more explicit obstacles. Like some colleges have curfews for women, and
Mhm.
they have to like go back to their dorms early. Like I have experienced
Right,
this at one of the programming camps I attended. Um, like they had a 8 p.m. curfew, and I was the only woman there at the camp.
right,
So
right,
everyone else would like all these CodeChef, code forces, top coder contests. They're late at night, and others would stay in the computer lab and participate in those contests, and the camp would still go on, but I'd always have to leave.
right,
And
right.
I don't know if this is still a thing in some colleges, but if it is, that's a really major obstacle for women.
Right.
And then there are guys in programming who usually mentor their juniors in their colleges. That
Mhm.
doesn't happen quite as often with women because there aren't that many in the first place.
Right. Right. Right.
So they miss out on learning from their peers, and that's a big thing.
Right. So it's definitely a cultural issue. It's a problem in the culture.
Hmm.
Be it, be it east or west, or would you say that there is a difference comparing the scene in the east or the west?
Like I think in India these issues are like more
Right.
widespread, but this is definitely an issue even here in the US. I've experienced this at my internships
Right.
during during meetings and things like that.
Right. Right. Right.
Yeah,
Right.
I've experienced
Yeah.
not being taken as seriously as
Right.
like
Right.
other people in my team, even though I
Right.
had like equal amount of experience.
No, I'm sure subtle sexism is present in all parts of the world in different degrees. That's an issue every woman faces. Also, I think support from the family is very important. Most women in India probably do not get to, get that support that they need
Mm-hmm.
from the families. You may not have personally faced something like that
Yeah.
since you have a supportive family yourself. But have you seen your peers or colleagues or your co-programmers face that while you were
Um, like I'm not sure. I haven't faced it personally. My family has been very supportive regarding all
right,
this. Um, but in general, high school students face like their families don't support them in spending all their time in CP because they want their children to do JEE and prepare
right,
for
right.
IITs. So it's not a problem specific to women, but yeah, this is a problem that exists.
So, how do you think we can fix this issue, and how can we move towards a more, a gender parity when it comes to programming or CP?
So one thing that can be done is having online communities for women, um, where they can learn from their friends. Because usually, you, for women who are interested in programming, they won't have many friends who are doing that.
Hmm.
They'll usually be like the only woman in her friend group doing it. So
Right,
having online communities for women where they feel comfortable asking questions,
right.
that's very useful. So I think that's one solution. And then just being mindful of these issues is also very helpful.
Absolutely. You've been associated with women in INOI training.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you
Yeah.
tell us more about that?
So it's like an online community for high school girls who are interested in participating in IOI
Right,
and from
right,
India. So
right.
we've been covering IOI topics and a lot of practice problems, and it's a space where they can ask any questions they want, no matter
Mhm.
how silly they think the questions are. And then we
Right,
have mentors to help them, and they can like learn together with their friends.
right.
So if you're a high school student, a female student, and you are interested in this, please reach out to me. I'll be very happy to add you to the community.
Absolutely. Anyone watching the show and wants to reach out to Malvika or her program of the Women in INOI, please reach out to her and us and make the best of this opportunity. You don't get to, train with the best so often. Malvika, I'm going to move to the next question for you, and
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people want to know this from you. How did competitive programming change your life? I know this has been covered many a times by many news portals, but we want to know it from you.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I wouldn't be here if not for competitive programming.
Right,
It's helped me um, become better at self learning, and because of that, I feel like I can self learn a lot of unrelated things, and then
mhm,
it's also helped with job interviews, job
right,
interview questions,
right.
and they're very similar. They're like algorithmic questions, and that's why being able to having practice solving these kinds of questions quickly helps with job interviews.
Mhm.
And And then I just wouldn't have done IOI or anything and
Right.
gotten into MIT without competitive programming. So yeah, that's changed my life.
And that changed your life for something really great. And thank God you took up competitive programming, and that's the reason why you are here with us, and
Hmm.
we are getting to learn so much from you. So I think I know the answer to this question, but still, would you recommend CP to the young programmers who are watching you, following you?
Yeah, definitely. But only if you enjoy doing it. If you don't enjoy
Right,
doing it, go find something else you enjoy. But otherwise, yeah, it's a great thing. It'll help you even if you don't do computer science. Like there are many other
right,
fields which use programming a lot, use data
right,
analysis, and you can apply your CP skills almost anywhere.
right, right. Right. So yes, something very important that you guys need to listen, need to know. You need to really enjoy whatever you're doing. I think Malvika could have chosen a lot of streams with the brains that she has. She could have chosen a lot of fields, but she really enjoyed programming and computer programming, and that's why she succeeded so much in life. And that's her advice as well. Enjoy what you're doing. Uh, Malvika, I'm gonna go ahead to the next question, and this it's a little personal, and it's been we have got this question from one of our community members. Uh, they ask how difficult was homeschooling for you back when you were in India.
Hmm.
Did you ever feel left out of the fun and enjoyment that other students would have been having as you were homeschooled?
Um, so while I was being homeschooled, I didn't realize what I was missing out on. I realized this later. I definitely made stronger friendships in college than I did during
Right,
my high school years. So I did have friends. I had we had a homeschooling community, so I would
right,
hang out with the other homeschoolers and we would do fun stuff. But it just wasn't the same as having like friends who are taking the same classes as you, studying the same things as you, and we're
right,
going through stuff together. So that's something I realized later on that I missed out on. Um, then I think I missed out on exploring more because I focused on the computer science,
right.
and there are many other fields that I find interesting, and I would have liked to study more. So I realized all these things after going to college. While homeschooling, I was just having fun, and I thought it was great back then.
That's excellent. So there's nothing much that you missed. You were just having fun, and you were making the best of that time. And you were right. We make the best of our friends in college only. So that's fair enough. This is a fun question for you, Malvika. How much time do you recommend spending every day in front of the screen? Not doing Facebook, not scrolling down an endless spiral, uh, but obviously solving problems. How much time do you recommend spending in front of the screen to become an advanced coder from an intermediate level?
Um, So if you're preparing for IOI or ICPC or something like that, then at least 5 hours a day. Like do a practice contest for those 5 hours and then solve the problems that you missed. So maybe like 7 to 8 hours at least. But also don't overdo it. I think
Right,
consistency is as important as giving enough time to it. So you just do it consistently every day, even if you only
right,
give it 7 hours.
right. So 5 hours, guys, minimum 5 hours. You need to give this. Uh, that's the least grind you could, give to your passion. Isha Walia from the live section asks, "How should we reach to Malvika? Please ask, sir." Malvika, if you could just answer
Um,
Isha.
Okay, you can email me. It's malvika.mew@gmail.com.
Right. Isha, I hope that answers your question. All right, let's come to something that everyone is waiting to know. Your experience of the IOI. Someone even asked, "What is IOI?" IOI is International Olympiads for Informatics, where Malvika brought home a silver medal, uh, putting India, at its competitive programming glory. Malvika, what would be your advice to high school students who are preparing for IOI?
Um, so do it step by step. Focus on INOI first. Focus on ZIO first, and make sure you do all the practice problems that are available from past years, and do that for INOI, IOITC. But focus on one thing at a time, and just practice consistently. That's all. I think practicing consistently is the most important thing. And past problems, they're the best problems that you can do to prepare.
So practice consistently, 5 hours a day minimum, and check out the past problems. Keep up solving and just keep listening to Malvika.
Yeah.
Okay, there's one more question from this guy called Bored with Demoralizer. And he wants to know if you are retired from competitive coding. He uses the word retired. And if you are retired, why are you retired?
So I kind of lost interest after getting into college and exploring other things. That's the reason I haven't been doing much competitive programming. I got interested in other things and I prioritized those. It takes up a lot of time doing competitive programming. And
Absolutely.
yeah, I just have different priorities now.
Right. I mean, CP is a very important part of your programming journey, but then there is a world beyond that as well, and that's where you are at right now.
Yeah, exactly.
And really killing it and slaying it, if I may say. Okay, Malvika, moving on to the next question. This is about your subject of interest and study. What did you? How did you get interested in quantum physics, and how was your journey like from CP to quantum computing?
So actually, I took an astronomy class for fun, and I got really interested in astronomy. And then through that, they had like some physics prerequisites. So I had to take some physics classes to take like more astronomy classes. And that's how I got into physics. And then through that, I also like explored a bit of quantum computing because it was like an intersection of like, computer science and physics. And then that's how, and I discovered that it was really fun. I loved it, so I continued doing that.
Nice. So when you say that you took astronomy for fun, would you say that you're interested in science fiction and all? Are you a big Star Wars fan or?
No, I just like space.
Okay.
Yeah, that's one good thing about MIT. We can like take classes in any field, and there are many opportunities to explore. And then even the major requirements are not such that they take up all your time. You always have more time to take other classes outside of your major.
Right. Okay, that totally makes sense. Your interest in astronomy and space, and from there to quantum computing, that basically bridges the gap. Okay, I'll ask you something regarding your IOI experience again, because I'm sure everyone who's watching wants to know how you did what you did. Would you please share with us the whole experience in detail from beginning of the preparation for IOI and how one should approach it?
Okay, so the first time I attempted ZIO, I didn't qualify. For ZCO, I also attempted ZCO, and I didn't really know how to put my thoughts into code. So I just wrote a long comment explaining like how to do the problem, and of course I didn't qualify. And then then the second time I prepared on for ZCO, I asked a lot of questions on Stack Overflow and C++.com. I think some people were also getting mad at me for asking those questions because they thought they were homework questions. And that's a good thing with Stack Overflow. People get mad if you ask homework questions. Right. So that's how I prepared for ZCO and ZIO again and INOI. And then once I qualified, my mom actually somehow contacted one of the past IOI participants, Keshav, and put me in touch with him. And then he was willing to mentor me for IOITC. And that was a big help. I did past IOITC problems, and like he would just guide me on what problems to do, what topics to prepare for IOITC. Right. Like one big topic was segment trees. That would appear in like almost every contest at IOITC. And so I just did a lot of segment tree problems, and that was my favorite topic at that time. And yeah, that's how I prepared for IOITC. And then I didn't qualify my first IOITC. I didn't get into the team. Then my second attempt, I did get into the team, and then I prepared for IOI. Even for that, Keshav mentored me, and even Arjun. He's at CodeChef now, but he also mentored me for IOI. We just did lots of past problems and topics
Right.
from online resources,
Right.
and yeah, and then I went to IOI, and then they repeated this for the next 3 years, next 2 years, sorry.
So the first couple of failed attempts did not break you, right? You took it in your stride and worked harder.
Yeah, I took a break from CP after like I didn't get into the team the first time, but yeah. I would also take a break from CP after IOI.
Like you're on a hiatus from CP right now. I'm sure if you come to CP right now, any coach versus some coach, it's going to be very difficult beating you.
Mm-hmm.
I think people are better off without Malvika competing. Talking of CP again, I'm going to ask you, what are the factors that play a major role in competitive programming, and also the aspects that make you do it?
It's like I mentioned earlier. I enjoy the problem solving. I like having a problem to think about while I'm doing other things,
Right.
and like I like the satisfaction I get from the green AC.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Also, you're quite a high-rated coder yourself. Uh, but would you say that the rating on CodeChef or any other coding platform uh, does it matter when it comes to getting a job or an internship?
Hmm. Um, I'm not sure. I used to put it on my resume, but I don't know if like it got noticed or not. But competitive programming definitely helps with getting jobs and internships um, because like knowing how to answer these kinds of questions in a short amount of time will help with interview questions, and they're
Mhm.
very similar to these competitive programming kind of questions.
Right.
So I don't know if the rating itself helps or not, but
Right.
yeah, competitive programming does.
Right. So it's not just about the rating; it's just the kind of coder you become while participating in
Mhm.
programming. It makes your problem-solving skills better. So I guess that's how it helps. I think you did answer my next question, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Is there any particular reason why you haven't been active in CP since you joined university?
Yeah, it's just that I got interested in other things and I decided to spend my time doing those.
We are really curious to know more of these other things, and it does not have to be academics only. It could be anything. What are your hobbies? If that's a fair question.
Oh, I don't know if I used to really like swimming, but now because of COVID, it's all closed. So
Right.
now I just will look at memes in my free time.
Nice.
Yeah. So in college, I got interested in other fields in computer science, not necessarily programming or software engineering, and that's how I kind of moved away from algorithms and programming.
Right. You have joined a PhD program, Malvika. What made you pursue a career in academia instead of the more common industry route?
So yeah, I definitely got more interested in other things other than software engineering. I don't actually enjoy software engineering that much, to be honest. I done my summer internships because MIT is expensive and I didn't want to put that kind of financial strain on my family.
Right.
And yeah, software engineering internships pay well enough for that, for MIT.
Right. Right.
And um, it was a fun experience, but it's not something I want to spend most of my life doing. I'm more interested in research and I want to keep learning new things. So
Right.
that's the reason I decided to do a PhD.
That's excellent. We're going to be, if Malvika, agrees to come back and talk to us, we are going to be talking to Dr. Malvika very soon. Malvika, you have interned with Facebook a few times. How has your experience with Facebook been?
It was fun. The interns get a lot of benefits, and we go on fun outings, and we have lots of free food, really good food. And they treat you like a full-time employees, and yeah, so that's a good thing. Even the projects that you work on, they have like real impact. It's not just something that's meant for training.
I mean, they make it look like it's all fun and games, but I'm sure it's a lot of hard work, and you get to learn a lot. I'm sure. So, would you recommend the young people? I'm sure it's tough to crack Facebook, even to intern. But would you say that there's a lot to learn from places such as
definitely.
Facebook?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I think I learned more software engineering from my internships than I did from the classes I've taken. Like I got much better at it through my internships, but I don't think I learned that much from classes.
Cool. Malvika, I'm gonna go ahead to the questions that has been sent to us by the community members. Here's a question from Ansh Kapoor. Ansh asks, which book do you follow for your preparation? He did not clearly mention what preparation, but I'm guessing he's asking about your CP days. If there's any recommendation from you, Malvika.
CLRS, that's the one I started out with. It's the Introduction to Algorithms by CLRS. Those are the author's initials.
Right.
That's the book I started out with. And then after that, I didn't really refer to books much. It was mostly online resources.
Right.
I think right now there's like this website. I don't remember what it's called actually. It's like competitive or CP tutorial, something like that. That has really good resources. And then the USACO training resources are also really good. Those were the ones I used. They've updated their website now, so they're slightly different from back when I was doing it, but they're still very useful.
Right. I hope you guys are taking notes of these names that she's been taking. These are the real pearls of wisdom that we have been waiting for. Our team is also writing down the names of the books she has been mentioning in case you miss it. Someone has just asked on the live feed, which college was Malvika in? Malvika was in, and she still is in the MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology. She was homeschooled when she started homeschooling when she was in 7th grade, and with her IOI accolades, she went straight to the MIT without even having a class 12 degree. That's a huge feat for anyone to achieve. And I also see someone asking, Shravani Manze asks, is MIT worth it?
Yeah, definitely. So, yeah, it's worth it, I would say.
I mean, I don't think you need to speak further, but
there are just so many opportunities that open up after you graduate from MIT, and even the experience at MIT is like very valuable.
Right.
Even if you go there with computer science, you can graduate in anything you want. You can graduate in music, and still have many opportunities open up for you.
Yeah. So I'm guessing that answers your question. I forgot your name, whoever asked that question. I'm going to go to the next question. This is by Shakti Raj Singh.
Oh, actually, before that, some people in the chat posted the name of the website. It's CP Algorithms. That's the one I was thinking of. I couldn't recall the name.
It's really good to see that you guys have been paying real attention to Malvika's answers. We are proud of you. Thank you so much for helping us out. All right, going to Shakti Raj Singh. I'm sorry for destroying the name, Shakti. Here's a question. How to start with data structures and algorithms. It's the most difficult task for me to learn DSA, and from where to learn. Please share your thoughts about the same. Yeah.
So there are introduction to algorithms courses on websites like EDX and Coursera. I think those are very useful. They'll have they'll have lecture videos and then some problems to solve. So make sure you do those problems, the exercises that they give, and that's how I learned it. And then just a lot of practice.
Right.
There are many resources for learning algorithms online and many practice problems, and you just have to go through all those practice problems. Even if you so one thing that's important is when you read the solution, make sure you code up the problem. You always learn more from problems that you're not able to solve than from problems you can solve. So don't focus on the ones you can't solve. Read the solution, understand it, code it up, and that's how you learn algorithms. And
right. So if you were expecting an easy way from Malvika, I guess you're disappointed, because it's all about hard work and practice and practice. It's fun, but it's also hard work at the same time. At least that's what I understand from what Malvika just told us. Next question is from Saurabh Khapre. Is competitive programming really important to get you into tech giants like Google, Facebook, etc.? Well, Saurabh, case in point, Malvika Raj Joshi, but then I'm not going to answer for her. Over to you.
It's useful. It's not necessary. You can still get in without being doing competitive programming, but it's very useful. Just as I mentioned before, being able to solve problems in a short period of time helps a lot with interviews, and interviews are basically how you get in. And then I don't know if being like a top coder on these websites is helpful or not. It might be to get your resume noticed, and that's also an important step in the hiring process, because if they throw out your resume, then you're not even going to get to the interview stage. So maybe now that I think of it, I think ratings might actually be helpful if you have a really high rating.
Right. So I guess it's an overall performance ratings, as well as your skills, as well as your interview skills, not just one thing, I'm guessing.
Yeah, it's useful to have like a really strong resume. That's the first step. And then and then the interviews come.
Right. I got a very interesting question in the comments. Someone asked, how much are you regretting agreeing to this interview? May or may not want to take up that question. Moving on. All right. Jay Mangokia asks, okay, interesting question. Jay asks, how to replace you at Facebook? I guess he means regarding your time at Facebook. I don't know if you want to answer that question, but yeah, it's a fun question. I thought I would keep it.
Wait, I'm not sure I fully understand the question.
I guess he means how to beat Malvika.
Oh, okay. I don't know how to answer that. I'm sorry.
No problem. I'm sorry, Jay. Rama Subramanian asks, how did you crack your interview? Did not specify what interview. I'm guessing it's going to be Facebook. Tell us about your interview process at Facebook.
So actually, I applied to WhatsApp first, and they had like this coding challenge, and I just did that challenge, and that's how they asked me for an interview. And then during the interview, I don't remember the exact questions they asked, but they were very like competitive programming questions. And they also asked me to like write pseudocode on the whiteboard. So I was able to do that because I'm used to doing this in programming contests. And yeah, that's how it went. And then for Facebook, actually, I interned at WhatsApp that summer, and then I got a written offer, and I talked to them, and they converted that to a Facebook written offer. But so I never actually interviewed with Facebook directly. It was WhatsApp, but I'm guessing the process is the same.
Okay. So I mean, was it challenging? Was it difficult? What was the most toughest part of the interview process, would you say?
I think it was writing code on the whiteboard actually. That's
Code on the
something
whiteboard.
that I'm not used to, and
Right.
I think my code had some bugs, but my interviewer knew something was wrong, but they also were like confused.
Okay.
But it worked out. I think they just want to know how you think. That's what they're trying to get to by like, asking you to do all that. So
Hmm.
you don't always have to solve the interview questions fully to be
Right.
able to get in. But
Right.
just like make sure that you're telling them what you're thinking of and going through with your thought process with
Hmm.
them.
Cool. I'm going to get to the next question. This is something a lot of people have been asking. This is something even I want to know. The question is from Rashmi Kiragi, and the question is how to stay focused.
I think if you really enjoy doing it, then
Right.
you like maybe sometimes it can get difficult when you're stuck on a problem for a long time. I think the best thing to do is just to do something else for a while and then come back to it.
Right. So the
But
key.
if you're really enjoying it, then you should be able to it should just come naturally, I think.
Right. It's very interesting that people who are really good at something, they break it down very simply, and that's why Malvika could give you the most simplest advice and yet the most effective advice, that you have to be able to enjoy what you're doing, and if it's getting too much, just take a break and do something else. As Malvika also keeps saying that she has her interests in different things and she does not let anything get to her. All right. I'm getting a lot of questions, but I'm going to stick to the question that we have received first. Dhakar. Deepak Dhakar asked, I want to ask, how can I become a student at MIT on a full scholarship for masters? Thank you.
Um, yeah, I'm not sure. Like you have to apply to MIT. I'm not sure what the master's application process is because
Right,
I'm doing my master's right now, but it's different if you have already done your undergrad at MIT. Then if it was in CS, then you can directly do your master's in CS.
right,
Um,
right,
but then about scholarship, for graduate students, it usually comes from either TA-ships or RA-ships, which are research assistantships. So if you
right,
find a professor who has funding, then you can get a full scholarship. I don't think
right,
there's a partial scholarship. If you get scholarship, it's like full scholarship for graduate students.
right,
Um, and if that doesn't work out, then you can be a teaching assistant for a class. And even
right,
with that, they cover all your tuition.
right,
So if you know a professor with whom you want to work with and your
mhm,
research interests match, then it's a lot easier to get in. This is
right,
true for most graduate schools. If you know a professor there and you know that your research interests match, then you put that on your SOP, you reach out to those professors, and then it's much
right.
easier to get in.
So there's a whole lot of prospects that Malvika just shared with you. I hope that answers the question. I'm just going to take this question from the feed. This is from Aditya Bhardwaj. He asks, Java versus C++, which language do you prefer and why?
So I prefer C++. It's faster and it just comes a lot more easier to me because C++ was the first language I learned.
Right, 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 right.
Yeah, I'm just not very fond of Java, but if that's what you're comfortable with, then go with Java.
Most of the best performers on CodeChef at least have worked with C++. At least that's what I have seen.
Yeah, but I
Uh,
think there are some top performers who use Java or like
mhm,
a different programming language. I think it's what you find most comfortable.
mhm. Right. Cool. Okay, this is an interesting question by Garima Yadav, and especially for someone like you who has reached a certain height in their career or academics, but we all face a certain plateau in our professional lives. Uh, so how do you deal with that? How do you get better after a particular level when you feel like you've reached a plateau?
So I don't know if this is very good advice, but what I would do is take a break
Right.
and then come back to it when I feel refreshed from the break.
Right.
So yeah,
I
that,
think
that
that.
has also happened to me. I felt like I'm not improving at all, and just
Yeah.
taking a break has helped.
Okay. That's absolutely fair, and I think that's the best. I think everyone who has excelled in their profession follow that advice itself. A lot of people have been asking on the feed, okay, what is Malvika's CodeChef profile? I think I'm going to let you guys guess on the comments, and maybe by the end of the session, Malvika will tell you if you guys are right or wrong. Most people are going with Meteora, uh, but let's just see. Moving on to the next question. Kishan Sumaya asks, how did you apply to Facebook? I think Malvika had already covered that answer, unless Malvika wants to
Yeah.
take that again. Um, Utkarsh Agarwal asks, how do MITians prepare for an interview?
The same way as everyone else does. I actually referred some of my friends to CodeChef and Code Forces and told them to practice those problems for interviews. so, so yeah, I think doing competitive programming problems is a good practice for interviews.
Right. But I guess what he wants to know is there something, special training that he receives when it comes to interview in an institution as big as MIT?
Actually, no, no, we don't.
No.
Yeah, everyone just prepares on their own,
Right.
and the same way as someone outside MIT would do. We have
Right.
classes that are like there's one class that focuses on software engineering, but that's all
Mhm.
I know. I don't think there's anything else that they do to prepare us for interviews.
Right. Another question from the live feed. What would be a fair advice from your side for beginners in algorithm? This is from Krishnapai Mori.
Doing a lot of practice problems, like making sure that you implement the algorithm multiple times once you finish reading it and understanding it.
Right.
I think coding is the best way to learn the beginner algorithms.
Right. As basic as possible. Can't get more real than that. Uh, how are you managing online classes due to COVID? Ikshul Dureja asks.
So actually, I just have one class right now, but because I'm a graduate student and they don't have like a focus on classes for graduate students.
Mhm.
Um, but the classes are on Zoom and we just submit all the homework online.
Right.
It's not as fun as in-person lectures and then being able to collaborate with friends on homeworks. So that's a great thing about MIT. They always encourage people to collaborate with their friends and on the homeworks. So they'll give us really difficult problems, but we work together and try to solve them. But that's something that we can't do anymore because of COVID. So
Right.
it's not ideal, but it's working out.
Right. Someone asked, how much time did you require to reach 6 star?
I'm not sure. A few years at least. I think you can see the timeline on my CodeChef profile.
Right. If you can just go over to Malvika's CodeChef profile, her username is. I'm not going to disclose that. That's something Malvika will be disclosing at the end of this session. Uh, so stick around. We are almost running out of time right now. Just a few more questions that I'm going to take from the community, and then we're going to jump into the live questions straight. So keep your questions ready. Last question from the community: how to manage CP developments and college work? as I'm in my fourth semester.
Um, so I don't know if I'm the best person to answer that because I stopped doing CP after I got occupied with college work. But if you maybe something you can do is make sure you give it time consistently. So even if you can manage just 1 hour every day, make sure it's every day or like every
Right,
other day or whatever you can do. Make sure it's consistent,
right,
and that'll help a lot.
right. Interesting question from Prashant. What did you do when you were a beginner and faced problems?
I would post on Stack Overflow or C++.com. So yeah,
Mhm.
like I mentioned before, people on Stack Overflow would get mad at some of the posts because they'd be like, "What are you doing? Why are you asking homework questions here?"
Right.
but yeah, that's what I would do, and
Uh,
sometimes people would answer them, and that's how I got them resolved.
I think it's time we
But now you
disclose
have
the.
CodeChef Discuss, right? Which is great.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
just post on
I think it's
CodeChef
time
Discuss.
we disclose your CP profile on CodeChef. I'm sure it's not a secret, but I'm just playing with the audience here. Uh, I guess it is Meteora, right?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, because someone has just asked why would you keep Meteora as your profile name? Are you a fan of LinkedIn? Sorry, not LinkedIn,
I
Linkin Park.
regret it. I regret it. That's one of my biggest regrets. I don't like Linkin Park at all anymore. I used to when I created that profile.
Cool, that makes two of us.
Great.
All right. I I am Dash asked what was your motivation for CP?
um, I guess it was IOI. I wanted to, you know, participate in IOI, and I was basically preparing for that. But I also just started enjoying CP, and that's why I continued doing it, even things that weren't directly useful for IOI.
Right. How did you get to know about IOI at that time? Because the awareness was not that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I knew about Math Olympiad because there was like some awareness about it in my math classes.
Right.
And then when I started learning programming, my mom told me there's like this similar thing for programming. You should look into it.
Right.
And I read about ZIO
Right.
and attempted it that year.
Right. Basically, you had the perfect support. You definitely had the
Yeah,
talent, but you had the perfect support.
yeah,
Uh,
definitely.
this is one question from the comment section. If you're stuck in a problem and do not have the editorial for it, what should they do about it? What do you suggest?
Um, I would post it somewhere online and ask
Right,
for help.
right. Okay, I could be getting into trouble for picking up this question, but I can't help myself. Coach Chef versus Coach Forces and why?
So if you're preparing for IOI, I think CodeChef is definitely more useful. The lunchtime contests are more useful.
Hmm.
I didn't. I actually participated in more Code Forces contests than CodeChef,
Right. Coach Chef.
but yeah, um, they're also more frequent on Code Forces. But why not both?
Right. Sanjay Rizvi asks, did you do math Olympiad problems while doing CP?
No, I kind of gave up on Math Olympiad. So um, the first time I attempted ZIO, I also attempted the first round of the Math Olympiad. I think it's called RMO. And yeah, I kind of just stopped doing that. I didn't qualify.
Mhm. People are asking for your CF handles as well. Okay, this question is interesting. Who introduced you to CP? I wonder how I missed this question, but that's an interesting question. We never got to know that.
Um, so my mom introduced me to IOI, but
Right.
I think I just like kind of got into CP while preparing for it.
Hmm.
She told me about ZIO, and
Right.
then I
So,
think CodeChef might have been the first site I used. And
right. Score for CodeChef. Excellent. Is there any advice that you would give to your younger self? This is a question from Sagar Kakkar.
um, yeah, I would tell myself that there are also other things out there. Don't just focus on computer science.
Right.
I used to think that I wanted to do CP all my life, but that's changed now. I
Mhm.
still enjoy it, but it's not something I want to do all my life.
Right. What has been your favorite contest on CodeChef?
I don't know. Hmm. Like I like the lunchtime contests, but I can't
Right.
think of any particular contest right now. It's been a long time.
Right. Right. Because someone in the comments had asked, have you been paid to say that lunchtime is a good contest?
No, I think you
I'm
should pay me
sure.
now.
But okay,
I
last
just
question.
like I just like those because there aren't that many 5 hour contests.
Right.
There's Usaka, but that's only like 4 times a year or something.
Uh-huh. All right. We are almost, out of time right now. I have had an amazing time. I'm sure everyone else has too. Thank you so much for joining, Malvika. It's been amazing. We learned a lot of things from you. You were amazing.
Thank you.
Is there anything that you want to, say to all these people? They've been flooding the comment section with questions for you. Any last advice for these guys?
Um,
We're just looking up to you.
I would just say practice consistently and you'll get good at it.
That's Malvika Joshi for you guys. I love the way she keeps it real and simple, and that's why she has gotten so far. Thank you so much, Malvika. Thank you so much. We
Thank
wish to
you.
have you back again. Thank you. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye. See you.